Yeah, so that's what we're focusing on today. We'll start off with that one with Mr. Dennis Amakre, former operative of the SSS. Good morning and thank you for coming on
Good
again
morning.
today. Well, lots of reactions already about some of the testaments, the testimony of some of those who appeared before the panel. But the security component is key here, particularly that of Lekki. So many just raising, wondering, already extrapolating, thinking, okay, with these kind of submissions, something, what can we ever get from this now if this is going this way? But, the way these things turn is that most times or sometimes, people may not get to hear what they want to hear. And the other people who are coming will have to say what they have to say.
Yes.
But then, for those who are already making some sort of conclusions, drawing conclusions from some of these, let's hear your perspective, particularly when you heard how the operations of the cameras, the functions of the Lekki toll, the cameras, what struck you when you heard that narrative?
When I, in fact, saw what happened there, I knew that some protocols were not followed. Because apparently...
Protocols?
Yeah, protocol. The crime scene was not secured. In fact, before people even knew what was happening, the whole crime scene was contaminated. Contaminated in the sense that some of the evidences that are supposed to be around on ground there has been swept away, tampered with, so you couldn't see much. And now we're hearing that cameras have stopped working at a particular time. When did it start to work and stuff like that? I think the panel could just go ahead and get some forensic experts who can look into this, clinically.
But who should have secured that crime scene, as you call it?
You see, that's another thing. The environment or the situation didn't allow for...
Yeah, it was difficult to secure that kind of
because
place.
the people that are supposed to secure it, the police, were away.
Yeah, but how do you secure it when there's regular... Look at the massive movement that occurs there on a daily basis.
Yeah, but if they really want to secure it, and by the time everybody left, they would have cordoned off the place. Cordoned off the place. Cars should not be moving through. And then, of course, the forensic scientists will come and, pick through all that is going on. We've heard about bullets, different kinds of bullets. We want to see which kind of bullets they are. Are they silver bullets or are they brass bullets, or which caliber, of bullets are they? And all those kind of things should have been evidences.
Forgive me for this
that
diversion.
were lacking. Yeah.
So, what does it imply for you or to you that we didn't cordon off that crime scene? What does it imply?
It implies that we were not ready. In fact, the investigation was an afterthought. But because if any time there is a problem, if we know that it is going to be investigated, then the investigators need to move in and then, of course, cordon off the area. Because there's a lot of evidence. Let me give you a very good one. Bola Ige. When he was shot, a lot of people didn't even think that there should be an investigation. They've killed him, so he's dead. By the time the forensic people came in there, the whole place was totally, when I mean contaminated, that means the people have tampered with the evidence, and people crying and moving around, and every fingerprints are all over the place. We cannot actually look into it.
So what are we likely to get from this judicial panel?
Well, they will do the best under the circumstance. There are apparent evidences that could be dealt with, like who invited the military, who shot, how many people died, and all those kind of things you can do. But when you come to nitty-gritty evidence, like where are the bullets, where do they come from? Because a very good lawyer can go into defend that these are not our bullets. Stuff like that.
The panel still has a very long way to go.
Yes.
And there'll still be so many depositions, as it were. But you know, there've been several visits to that place by different officials.
Yeah.
And then when they speak about the cameras, when they stopped recording, why they stopped recording, circumstances surrounding why they stopped recording, which is already generating a lot of comments. Many
Yes.
just question and find loopholes in all of those things
Of course.
because they wonder, look, the place is usually normally lit. And curfew or not, they said, look, they've gone there several times, even during the curfew, during the lockdown, it was still lit.
Yes.
And they wonder why this particular case was so.
Yes, there could be an ulterior motive by whoever owns or manages that toll gate, because that's why I need forensic experts to go in there.
When? Before or even
Right now, they'll look at it. The recordings, do they stop at a particular time all the time, or was it a network, or on this particular day was the day it stopped at 8 o'clock? You know, we want to know. We want to even know about other recordings when the thing was going on.
So that means they will have to access the previous log
Yeah.
of those areas to see how have they been doing all of these things before now.
Yes.
To then compare it with that
To
particular
know,
circumstance and see the
exactly,
consistency.
yeah, what is the system of recordings, what are old recordings, what did they record during the protest, how did it go on, were they really peaceful? You know, all these recordings should be able to tell us, you know. Those are hard evidence.
But you know, the time that the ministers visited the area and the cameras that the Minister of Works, you know, saw there was another camera, which I think was it on a stick or something. I'm not too sure how that was. It was just right on the roof, you know, just like it was detached.
Yes.
Just seemingly, you will notice that, wait a minute, this cannot be a structured way the camera fits.
Yeah.
So that, all of those circumstances, you then wonder, are they supposed to make all those materials available to the panel?
They should. In fact, I don't know who is in charge of the investigation for the panel, because these people should be going around and getting evidence for the panel to look at. How many cameras are actually there? Which ones are the overseeing cameras? You know, there are other hotels like Sheraton, Oriental, you know, and they should be overlooking that area. So, what do they have on those cameras?
So it can be admissible.
Oh yeah, definitely. If they do it now, some might not be admissible because after so many days we saw a camcorder just in plain view. You know, are they saying that camera was there and nobody knew about the presence of that camera? It was in plain view and it was there, and then the minister went and removed it. You know,
I many wonder, so many people have passed through there.
Yes.
So where was that?
Who planted it? That's what we want to know. Who planted it? Yeah, it was planted. Because there is no way. You know, I know that there are even...
No, please say that clearly. What are you saying happened with the camcorder that the Minister of
That
Works...
camcorder looks planted. Because there is no way that it will be in plain view. Plain view. Not that it was hidden. It was in plain view in one of the you know, the booths had some platforms. One of the platforms there, from what they showed on TV. So, how come it was there and nobody saw it? There are mobile phone service providers that even went there to look at their lines.
Some of them were damaged.
Yeah, that were damaged. Nobody saw that camera, that particular camcorder. And it is not so tiny. It is not, you know, we have these hidden cameras where people will not know that they were there.
Could it have fallen from somewhere?
I don't know. But I think I am very interested in that camera.
Okay.
Because I want to see what is in it. Whoever planted there, must have also loaded it with something. So, those are the kinds of things that the investigation
So that means
should give us.
whatever is in that camera could tilt. Yeah, as you see there now, it
must
could
have
tilt.
it must
the
have been
narrative.
designed to tilt. It must have been designed to tilt.
Look at how it was in plain sight.
Yes, it's in plain sight. And then, of course, look at the minister, I think, brought an handkerchief to pick it up. That means is trying to preserve the fingerprint on that camera. We want to know whose fingerprint is that right there. And then we want to know what is in that camera. That way we will at least...
So that's the kind of forensic picking up that you're
These are
suggesting.
the kinds of things that we're talking about.
But we have equally seen different narratives from different government officials about whether or not they were real. I mean, I think the narrative we were reading up yesterday suggested, well, I think it was the Minister of Justice, and there was reported to have said, you're not exactly sure what could have happened. You could have had miscreants or people who paraded themselves in that army uniform. They could have been the ones who were shooting. You never know who actually did what. So when you get to hear that kind of narrative, and then you hear from several other authorities, so does it suggest that you may not get the kind of cooperation you ordinarily would require, and as such, the recommendations there may just not be predicated in good stead?
Well, that's why we still need forensic scientists, because, for instance, if the people that were there were in fake army uniforms, it's very possible in this country. They were in fake, we are supposing now, they're in fake army uniforms and they shot some guns. Right, okay. Now, some bullet cases were discovered. The common one of the major arms that is used in society here is AK-47. That's 9mm. Now, when you go down to the kind of cases that were found there, we have about 7.62, rifle cartridge, casing that was there. And those ones are specifically military. They are military grade. So, if people were wearing fake uniform, how do they come about the military grade bullets, And then, of course, if they have different colors, some might be blank, some might be, real life bullets and everything. These are the things that forensic will tell us.
What does that suggest then? The kind of narrative that we get from government officials, including the military, what is that suggesting? Is that suggesting that, people are not likely to get the kind of justice that they deserve? Because if it's already in the conjecture, in the realm of conjecture, that is coming from government officials, it is presupposing then that no matter what judgment anyone draws, there may be no justice.
No, the thing is that the composition of the judicial panel is top class. It involves everybody, including some protesters, some human rights lawyers, and of course, government people, former DIG. So all these people are going to sit down and come up with the judgment of what actually happened.
But you're also aware that there is a report that members of this panel paid an unscheduled visit to the military morgue, and they weren't allowed to see the morgue.
I learned they were allowed later.
Allowed into the facility, but not to the morgue.
Yeah, but they are seeking for evidence of either dead bodies, or stuff like that. So if they don't allow them, they can go over the heads of these guys. Go to either their commander or go to the president. He sanctioned this particular panel, and he's the commander-in-chief. So if there are some people trying to throw hitches in the investigation, they can go to him and they will get direct order to allow the panel to go freely to seek for whatever they want to seek.
If that's the kind of body language the judicial panel has already gotten, someone somewhere might be assuming that maybe there could be some tampering with evidence, if we want to call it that. Do you see that happening?
Normally, the evidence, like I told you, in this particular investigation, a lot of evidence has been tampered with because, You know, even the dead bodies, if there were dead bodies, should have been left there so that we can see them, know who they are, identify them properly.
Yeah, but you can't leave it there for that long. You could just mark those spaces and take those pictures and images.
Yeah, and they will first of all do
away.
that and then take them away. But everything was just removed.
But you know, about those weaponry, which you spoke about, how do we say for sure that they're military grade? Because shouldn't, as you suggested, shouldn't we have some sort of forensic examination to determine whether or not they are the, I think they say 7.62 mm. I think whether or not is it NATO they use for GPMG, which they don't use that much anymore, or is it the one for the Kalashnikov? How do they determine which grade is this?
It's by size. And then, of course, you know, when you fire it, depending on the
proximity,
the gun that you are using, you know, that will tell you which kind of the bullet that you can use for it. You cannot use, for instance, double barrel cartridge for AK-47. So these are the different levels. So if they take the bullets, they will know exactly which kind of gun they come from. And then, of course, if they go further, forensic examination could also show us the signature. Because any bullet you fire out have a signature, you know, of the weapon that fired it.
So you could tell us
if this is military. This is military grade, and this was fired from a particular arm, rifle, and
the lot number, all of those,
and all that kinds of things, and then it will also tell us who owns those kind of weapons.
Well, there's still on this weapons thing. There is also, of course, you said it as well. If there are dead bodies, there are those who feel that look, maybe there is also the issue of the range of the guns, and because the people are already too far away, and their range is probably that at which the velocity of the speed begins to drop, and which is deadlier at the time that the bullets are dropping.
Yeah, well, you know, if there's a sniper, for instance, who is far away, maybe somebody who is sitting down up on the roof of the Oriental Hotel, looking down on the crowd there and then sniping down there, you know, that will also tell us about the range of whatever. But 7.62 it can go a long way, you know. 9mm pistol, you know, very close range, but those ones can go a very long range.
So, judging by the allegations of the distance between where the alleged soldiers are and the place where the protesters were, there's that possibility.
No, it's not even a matter of where the soldiers were. Okay. Because if you look at the videos, you find out that the soldiers were right there with them. It's not
close or far.
Oh, right there. If you look at the video, you will see that they were right there. The people in uniform, you know, were right in front. There's just a barricade in front of them. So that it's not that they were far away shooting into the crowd, no.
But equally, whether or not they fired blanks, as some may have said, they could have been blanks. They could have shot into the air. What do you make of those kind of information?
Well, if you are actually going for crowd control, you know, you have to use blanks or water cannons or whatever you want to use. When you start to use live bullets, then your mission is different.
Because those ones you saw, were they blanks?
No. There are two kinds. The silver ones might be blanks, and then the brass ones could be pure live bullets.
So there could be an admixture?
Yeah, there could be a mixture.
For that to happen, shouldn't there be a signal?
Signal of what?
In terms of, for officers or men to leave and go for that kind of mission.
That's why we're saying. See, that's why we're saying that the military don't move without the knowledge of their commanders. They are under command. Okay? So, like the first one, the first time this thing came up, when the news broke, the military said they were not the ones. Later, they said they were the ones, but they were directed by Lagos State government. You know, so...
Is that possible?
Oh, very possible. Get this. Get this. You know, all commands come from the chief of staff, CNC. And they will say, look, there is a problem. And then, of course, the chief of army staff will say, okay, I've got directives from the president, and then we're going to do this. So you go do it, okay? The governor, the governor cannot directly call the brigade commander and say, please go and quell this for me. He has to talk to the authority of the military, and it's from there it will come, you know. So even when you say, okay, bring the military, you know, they said, bring the soldiers, let's talk to them. And they said, no, we can't do that, because that's not the protocol. If there are military people that were involved, or even policemen, they have to be tried in an ugly room trial. After they finish that, if they are found guilty, and if what they've committed was a criminal offense, then they will be sent into a judicial panel which might sentence them to jail, you know. So you cannot just call them to come out of their barracks and talk to them. That protocol does not exist.
What should we expect from, because the army authorities too said they were investigating.
Yes.
What should we expect from them?
That's what I'm saying. If they're investigating, actually the command or what the brief to go out there to do whatever happened might have been different. So they will say, okay, we just told you to go and quell this. How come people died? You know, you have to explain, you know.
But so, that's not the only place. Lagos is not the only place that this happened, you know.
Well, you know, this is a case in point that we are looking at right now. For others that happened across the country,
especially Rivers.
Well, in Rivers, it's a different story altogether. There was an illegal body that was trying to, you know, assert themselves, and then, of course, they were asked to be wiped out. In their annoyance, they went and burned down police stations, even killed some policemen, you know, which was very, very terrible. And, of course, the governor is on top of it. I think they're looking for those people with a bounty on their heads.
Well, there's going to be, because, I mean, that controversy about the army saying we were there on the authority of the Lagos State governor, and then if they were there, so those bullets, where did it come from? Who issued that directive for them to open fire as a result of the bullets, which we saw, if that was what happened?
That's what the investigations were going out, yes.
But can this panel do the job? That investigation you're talking about? If
No.
forensics?
Like I said, you know, you don't bring out military people and interrogate or investigate them openly.
By this panel?
By anybody, even a court of law. When military people, because they're under command and control, when military people or police, or even in the DSS, if they commit anything, there's an in-house court. You know, in the military they call them court martials or whatever. Bring them there and judge them. And if they are found guilty, and what they did was criminal, then after being found guilty by the military authority, they will send them to the judicial panel, which will also sentence them to jail.
So, in other words, if any of such thing was going to happen, should they wait for all these judicial panels to finish their job in 6 months before they start?
No, the military is going on if they're investigating.
But government says they're going to have to wait for this panel. I think Mr. Additional said something.
And when they
like
finish, they will now transfer the case over.
So, it's going to be a long wait.
It already is a long wait.
Given how much time the panel has to do a job. So we'll watch and see what happens. Thank you very much indeed for coming on. This is Dennis Amakere. Well, back in a moment. Stay with us.